Hi, my name is Jane Powell. Welcome to Community Connections, brought to you by the Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation. This is a show showcasing community involvement. Today I have members of Keep Your Faith organization here, and I'm so excited to introduce you to Alecia Allen.
Hi, Jane.
Hi, Alecia, you are the clinical director.
Yes.
So you're going to tell us ways to keep ourselves healthy today. I'm excited to learn about that.
Yes, I think a lot of people are interested after the year that we've had.
And we also have another guest, Terrica Maxwell. You're a therapist with Keep Your Faith.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, Keep Your Faith is growing. You are expanding.
Yes, ma'am, rapidly. And we are so grateful to be able to extend our reach of services. It's just been an exciting year.
You have a new office?
We do, on Courier Street. It's 1313 Courier Street. We share a small nonprofit space. It's real. I say small, but it's a really, really nice office space. It was a physician's office. We were able to convert into a therapy space, and we share that. We're Suite B at 1313 Courier Street. We share the building with Childhood Language Center right across the street from Piedmont. So it's been a really great location.
I'm a Piedmont student.
That's awesome.
Yeah, a long time ago, but that was my school. Before we jump into the therapy piece of Keep Your Faith, it is an organization that touches a lot of different pieces of the community. Yeah. Can you just give me a broad overview?
Sure. So Keep Your Faith Corporations, KYFC for short. Mm-hmm. It's been around for quite some time, actually, but it's a grassroots mission. It's a nonprofit. Started as a literacy-based group, literacy-focused group, just mentoring kids, helping folks. We were school-based, and we would help kids with reading and writing. That extended into trying to help with more developmental delays or any way that we could move forward academic and individual development. So that has moved into programs like our clinical outreach program, which provides counseling services on site and in response to crisis, on site at the schools, or if we need to at home, if we have something happen like a pandemic, so that we can continue services that way. We have telehealth. That also helps us sort of remove some barriers if we have any physical barriers that don't allow us to provide face-to-face services. But outside of the counseling and therapy programs, we also we have a West Side Grown Project, which is a food insecurity program that operates at, we have a couple of school partners, so Mary C. Snow, Piedmont Elementary, here at Capitol High School. So we work with, let's consider marginalized populations. I hate to, sometimes it bothers me to talk about my own community in ways that that highlight what we're missing, but that's sort of what that's sort of what's directed our growth, so that we can fill those gaps. So and I'm a therapist, obviously, so even through the gardening piece and the food insecurity stuff, we try to focus on self-sufficiency and make sure that we move forward social, emotional development through gardening. So we do things like yoga. We have a horticultural therapy program.
You are speaking my language. So programs that I love.
Yes, and so those are sort of supplemental to the food insecurity portion, which is based around gardening and pop-up markets. So we have our students manage our gardens along with our farm managers, but we do that so that we can kind of create this farm-to-table experience. But they manage the garden from planting to harvest, which is really cool to watch, and there's a lot of barriers to harvesting, so that helps us promote resilience in the kids as they nurture their own food. So that's exciting.
So you mentioned the schools that you partner with. I know I first met you through Mary C. Snow Elementary, and you do a lot of work in that school, and thank goodness that you do. You guys need each other, so I like that.
Yes.
Is it a community that is open to therapy?
So
is there resistance?
Well, I will say this, with our kiddos, They're absolutely receptive. And one of the things that's so wonderful about the way the organic growth that we've been able to continue with Keep Your Faith is that we've been able to garner the trust of our community members, our partners. And I know I mentioned the school partners, but our after-school partners, Bob Burdette Center, I don't want to leave those folks out there. Such a great help in providing access to kids who need those services. So I feel like one of the barriers that we've had to overcome or accommodate in terms of connecting to families and increasing how folks receive therapy services. It's really been about trust around public systems, health systems, healthcare agencies. So we find that if these are outside organizations, that it's really hard to connect with families in a way that you're able to move forward with direct service. So it's things like diagnosis and assessment, treatment planning, and individual counseling. And in terms of continuity of care, you may speak with someone initially, but there's nervousness around what you're going to find out, and a stigma that what we find out is we're not going to be strength-based, that it's going to be around finding problems and issues that people feel insecure about exposing. So we want to reassure folks that connecting with therapy services really is about it's a strength-based service.
So I love that phrase, strength-based. So you're not looking for the bad, you're looking for the good.
Absolutely, and how to increase the good and manage negative emotions, because we all experience those. So whatever they're rooted in, or what triggers perpetuate those negative emotions, we process those things in therapy. So we're looking to resolve those issues, not to highlight anyone's problems or barriers. So.
You mentioned the schools and the outreach that you're doing. This has been a tough year for that.
Yes.
So I know you have some tools that you work with when you see them in person and that they can take home. And Terrica, tell me about the calm down kits and calm down rooms or spaces, corners.
Yes. So we decided that we were going to help kids have a space all of their own. Like in their house, they will have a corner where they can go there, and if they're feeling stressed, they can de-stress. It helps them to de-escalate when they're feeling angry. So in our kits, we have a couple different things, like to help with fidgeting, to help with anxiety, just to help these kids refocus their energy elsewhere so that they can calm down. And it's kind of like play therapy, so they don't even know they're doing it. It's just something they're doing that's fun for them, but it just so happens to actually help them. So we did kits, and we should tell them about our kits.
So just some history and background. I think the Calm Down kits were born out of, like you said, we were mentioned earlier, we connected at Mary C. Snow, and one of the programs that Mary C. Snow piloted were their Calm Down corners in the school. And so we did some research around the evidence-based material that sort of teaches us what symptoms are targeted by Calm Down corners. So Terrica mentioned fidgeting and lack of concentration or impulsiveness, things of that nature. So the pandemic happened, and it changed the landscape of the way that we work and connect with families.
Right.
So Calm Down corners in the school were not accessible when there were school closures, and there were even child care closures. There weren't any, kids weren't leaving the home. And so in order to, they weren't leaving the home, however, those symptoms were increasing.
Absolutely.
Right? So in our connection with those families and in trying to just regulate the home environment, which was now the learning environment, we were able to model these kits after the evidence that is available around Calm Down corners.
Wow.
So it's about sensory engagement. We use sensory engagement items, toys really, in the Calm Down kits to rely on sensory engagement in order to help de-escalate crisis, to improve stress response, to manage those negative emotions that we talked about earlier.
You know, as we talk about these calm down corners, I'm kind of thinking to myself, I have a calm down corner in my house,
Yeah.
but I never called it that.
Absolutely.
But I have a favorite chair and a little place that
It's yours.
it's mine. Yes.
Absolutely.
And it's where I go and where I feel very peaceful. So, never thought of it in those terms.
And they're really fun. We provide some smart watches, and it helps with biofeedback. So we exercise deep breathing, and kids are able to model that deep breathing on their own so it's sort of about creating those habits so that they become involuntary in response to stressful situations or stimuli that might be harmful.
Yeah. Now, is the calm down kits, I guess, is it truly a kit that you give them? But you're also working with, and I'm going to say it wrong,
Schoology.
Schoology.
Yes.
I get that wrong every time. You're working with Schoology. Kind of, how does that work?
So again, and from the parent perspective, I got really familiar with Schoology because my kids were home and moving through the e-learning experience. So Kanawha County Schools uses a platform called Schoology to host conferences, to provide virtual learning for Kanawha County School students.
Right.
And in order to do that, in order to sort of to continue to increase access to social emotional supports, because again, we were experiencing school closures, child care closures, all of those things.
Yeah.
We were able to work with the Kanawha County Schools administrators. Again, it's nonprofit work. So we were able to, we were given a Schoology access code. And so we were able to upload all of our materials, lots of psychoeducation, different relaxation routines, and also real-time access to therapists through Schoology, the Schoology platform. So parents get our Schoology access code, and we receive a lot of referrals that way.
That's huge.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
We were
that's
excited about
huge
that.
because you get the tools to them on means that they're already using.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I love that. They don't have to find a new way to access it. So that's really nice. I'm just amazed at how much the organization has grown and what you all are doing for the community. And when I talk about the community, Alecia, you've taken on a new role on top of this work, and I'm so proud of you. Tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you. Well, I am, my new title is the mental health coordinator. So this is maybe day 3 of week 3.
Okay.
So bear with me, but I'm really excited to be back home. I did move away for a little while, and I was able to come back home and connect with our city administration just to help move mental health care forward in our city. We want to increase our response to mental health care, make sure that we have best practices when it comes to prevention measures, and obviously that's what I do in our grant projects, and the same thing that we do to move our clinical outreach forward in our
So
project
that's
at
mental
KYFC.
health coordinator for the city of Charleston.
Yes, it is.
I love saying that. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Jane.
Thank you. So another new job, and that's on top of a thriving career with Keep Your Faith.
Thank you.
Expanding Keep Your Faith, and learning to work in this hybrid school and online world to keep your students healthy. I love that. And you're getting their hands in the soil, and I love that.
Thank you.
That's just so important. So thank you so much. I know ways that people can get in touch are through your website,
Yes.
and that is kyfc.org.
Yes.
And the phone number would be 304-981-1412. We have that on screen. And then you also have a Facebook page that they can follow along. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. I look forward to hearing good things about you.
Thank you for having us, Jane.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having us.
Thanks so much for joining us. This has been Community Connections, brought to you by the Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation. We'll see you next time.